You're listening to a 58 Ember production.
Howdy there, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Completely Fucking Clueless. My name is Audrey Dean Flowers.
And my name is Sarah Alice Liddy, and we both use a she, her pronoun.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I was really worried there for a second that I was not going to remember the intro because it's been a hot second.
Yeah, I know.
You guys, it's so weird because there was a point in this that we were like every week recording.
And we were like, we're pretty regular about what day it was. Even.
Yes. And now
we ain't.
No, just because of life. Life's changed. And I have a really big announcement to make, everybody.
She does.
And
I mean, it's if you listen to the last solo episode, you might be able to guess what it is.
Guess what it is. And if you follow me on like my personal social media, like I've already posted about it. But I moved to New York City.
I would scream for real, but my voice is too shot.
Yeah. Nah. No, it's so crazy. Like I posted on our like CFC Instagram story about like not being over an hour late because while it's still like a 20-minute drive down here because I live like way uptown, like I'm not that far.
Yeah.
I'm not like
I know I still haven't seen your place.
I
Which
know.
I'm
You will.
sad about. We'll
It's-
find a time next week.
For sure. It's still like a work in progress because, and I wanted to say this because when you talked to me about this, like over the phone the other day, it is like the most true statement. Moving out, like post grad, like after graduating college is just so different than moving in college.
I spoke about that because when I first moved to the city in our class, it was
Yeah.
only me and our friend Travis who had
Yeah.
moved. And Travis and I spoke about it a lot of like, because when you move into college, it kind of all needs to be done in like 2 days.
Literally.
Like, it also like kind of doesn't matter because you know you're probably only there for a year. It can be kind of shit. And like you're in college, so who gives a fuck?
Right.
But like moving as an adult is a
It's-
much slower process.
And it's just like this massive undertaking.
Yes.
I will say something that definitely helped us in this process is that, you know, I started my venture in early October, like I said on the last episode. And then, you know, we thought something may work out and then it didn't. But the thing about that situation that was kind of good was that we started buying things pretty early on. And so by the time we've moved in now, like, we have a lot of things. Like our kitchen is done basically.
Do you want to know the only thing that I had to buy for my kitchen when moving here?
What?
And it's because everything in my college apartments in the kitchen was provided by me except for silverware. That was the only thing I didn't have when I moved here. I did not have silverware.
That's so interesting. Yeah, no, we got like so much shit early on, which was nice. The only thing that we don't have, which kind of sucks, is like a couch for our living room because it was a gift. And so I was like, I want to make sure it's something that I love because couches are really expensive.
Yeah.
So it should be here in December. But yeah, I've moved and it's just like so crazy to me. Like this entire week waking up in like my new bedroom, I'm just like, what the fuck?
I like it's like feels so crazy to me. Like I kind of still don't believe it.
No, and I think when I was writing my notes last night, I think something that like really came up for me was like, you know, we've had this podcast, almost been recording it for 2 years. And when we started recording it, like I would always, you know, and I've talked about so much on the podcast, like wanting to move out and like wondering when that's going to happen.
And you're fucking there.
Right. And it's just like so crazy to have like documentation though of
Yes.
like talking about wanting it and like, and somebody who listens to the podcast and follows like us on social media commented on one of my TikToks and was like, it's so cool to like see you achieve this goal because like I've been following you for a while and like, right? Like I was so emotional. Like I was like, that is so cool that like somebody out there is like following my journey and our journey and like is seeing the like different steps that we're making. It like, oh my God, it's making me so emotional. But yeah, it's like crazy. And and I think the thing about moving and change in general is that it's so many different emotions.
Yes.
Like the day of moving, like I woke up really early and like was feeling good. And then like, I swear to God, I was a crank monster from like 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Like just cranky. I was also hangry because I feel like that's something that you forget during moving. Like you're just like so focused.
Yes.
And I've just gone like weaving in and out of emotions, especially because like I like live so close. Like I'm literally going home after this because my partner still lives in Westchester.
I actually have been curious about this. Do you think that Olivia will move into the city now that you're here?
No.
Okay.
Yes. So no, I do not think, I think if they move to the city, it'll be when we move in
Okay.
together, you know, because Olivia is working a job and like going to school. So I think like the saving their income is like
Yeah.
what's best for them. And the thing about their place is that their parents, like their dad is going to be fully retired by this summer, and their mom is retired too. So, and they're jet setters. They're like off and about doing their thing.
So are my parents now. I like I kept going to call my parents this week, and then I'm like, right, they're in Europe and they're asleep because it's 2 a.m. where they are.
That's
and I'm like,
iconic.
I know it's your 70th birthday, Dad, but like, think about me.
What
I
about
need
me?
to call my mommy.
No, literally, I was thinking, I kept joking around with my parents, and I was like, you guys are going to miss me. Like, what the fuck are you going to do without me? And my dad is like, no, like leave.
No.
I was like, you guys are so rude. But I saw my mom. She stopped by the apartment on Thursday because she works like near that area. And I could tell like she missed me. I was like, I know you miss me.
Well, okay, this is very far out and might not happen, but something my mom is very excited about is why this came up in my head.
Yeah.
So my lease for this apartment will be up in basically June, July. I always forget.
That is so
Which
crazy.
devastating. I will have been here for 3 years and I'm not staying because it's going to be too expensive. And I'm #devastated. But what is very exciting is I have a lot of sisters. The sister right above me and I might be moving in together.
Oh my God, wait, you and
Did I not tell you this?
No, you did, but it's just like hitting me. It's really hitting me now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, she's basically taking a year of kind of being like a nomad because she was just like really intense rowing training for like the last fucking decade and couldn't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
She's kind of being like a nomad and going all over, and I'm getting to see her do like all this cool shit. And so yeah, we might be living together, and our mom is very excited about that because my mom loves New York and loves having an excuse to come down here.
Yeah, and so now like it's like what more of an excuse than your daughters are living together.
And what's really funny is my mom brought it up to us both separately like a couple months ago now actually, and we both separately were like, yeah, I kind of like this idea, and then kind of forgot about it, and then randomly my sister mentioned it to me, and I was like, yeah, no, we both talked to Mom about it, we never spoke to each other about it. And then randomly my mom also brought it up, kind of forgetting that she had already told us about this idea, and I was like, no, we've been talking about it. Like, we even talked about how like she was like, oh, like how would cooking with dishes, like would we have a separate meat drawer? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I in college already did the thing of sharing pans, which I'm okay with, but the one thing that I would say is I have a cast iron pan that is mine that I would like to never have meat in it,
right?
Just because, like, and I've used our cast iron pan at home that has had meat in it. Like, I'm not that anal, but like it's my cast iron pan, I'd prefer to have our meat in it, but like other than that, fine. So this is very far away. This is over 6 months away, but
that's exciting though.
Yeah.
Like the next chapter. It's so interesting because it really like I got super emotional when moving about like it really felt like a new chapter. Like I feel like yes, there's been other things in my life since graduating that have felt like a new chapter, but I think like moving, like you're literally
big, yeah,
right? Like you're moving your physical self. It just feels like this, really big new chapter. And something that really got to me was like feeling very emotional about like never probably going to be living in my like childhood home permanently ever again.
Well, that's part of the reason my sister and I want to live together is like we never really got to live together because I moved out when I was 14 for boarding school.
Right.
And like we were relatively close, like as sort of siblings are growing up, but like we fought a lot growing up.
Sure. Like
and,
most siblings.
Yeah. And I was like a really difficult child. Had a lot of issues, went to a lot of therapy. And yeah, it was really difficult. I had a lot of like anger issues and like really didn't have a good ability of like managing emotions.
Yeah.
And then when she was like a teen, she was really depressed and on a lot of medication for that. And so we just never really got to like have that together. And she like read the statistic of like, I'm probably gonna misquote it, but it's something like by the time you're 18, like it's like 90% of the time you'll spend with your siblings in your life has already happened.
Wow.
And like we really care about each other now. Like when I was in high school, she and I kind of both came to the realization through watching our siblings, like, oh, if you don't put time and effort into this relationship, you're not going to have one.
Yeah.
And like we are really close, and like she is like one of my favorite people in the fucking world. And so the idea of like actually getting to like be near each other for like a year is so exciting. Like when she was in college, she used to sometimes on weekends drive up and visit me at Walnut Hill from Connecticut to Massachusetts just to like say hi for a couple of hours.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, that seems like such a fun idea. Wow, so many things. Yeah, moving is crazy, but so far so good. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think like it's just such like a big adjustment, and it takes time to like adjust to things. Something I know that I've already liked is like last night we finally set up our TV. Since we don't have a couch yet, we just like sat on random chairs and like we're like doing work on our computers and watching the Kardashians. And I was like, this is something that I know I've needed for a while, is just like somebody to like be around, like even when you're not like I kind of like the whole like being with somebody but not actually talking to each other sort of thing. So yeah, it should be fun. I'm really excited for city life, even though the holidays are coming up and like so much back and forth is going to be happening, but it's going to be exciting.
Still, it's so exciting, my dude.
Yeah, so that's the big life update.
It's still like not real to me.
No, literally and I just like, I love my view, and every day I like look out and I'm like, what? It feels so crazy to me. It just feels like so unreal. I'm like, wait, what? This is so cool. But yeah, any life updates from you?
I'd say the biggest one is I'm going to do my first in-person audition this upcoming Tuesday, which is part of the reason why I'm really annoyed that I'm a little sicky and my voice is a little sore right now. But yeah, it's going to be an audition for like the Frozen tour, which I don't think I'm necessarily the best fit for.
But still.
But it's just about kind of ripping off the Band-Aid because I've been very afraid to get back into auditioning. So I need to print out my headshot, which the headshot I'm going to be using.
That is insane.
I know. The headshot I'm using has my hair at like right below jaw length.
Oh my god.
Which if you've not seen what I look like currently, or you don't watch the video, my hair's like past my tits currently.
So long.
But I don't have the money for new headshots right now. So they're getting me with short hair. So we're gonna see how it goes. So I'm very nervy about that. Let's see. That's
so exciting. Honestly, I'm feeling secondhand anxiety for you, because now I'm thinking about like what auditions are like, or what I remember them to be like. But I feel like that's why you need to like rip the Band-Aid off, because you need to give yourself like a new impression.
And also like I've only done auditioning in New York where it was still mostly remote.
Yes.
And now it's like pretty back in person, doing like these big open calls, which I've never done before. And the idea of them feels very scary and intimidating. And I am very nervous. And I think the day of I'm going to be really fucking nervous. But like right now I'm kind of excited.
Yeah. But once you like do it, like it'll feel so good. And you know what this is making me think of? Have you seen that girl on TikTok who like went to the Little Women open call and was like doing interviews from the line?
Yes.
Oh my God. That was insane. People were out there at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
I know. So that's, I literally am like, so I'm going on Tuesday and I have therapy at 10 and I'm like, I don't exactly know how this is going to work. And so my plan is to get ready super early because the actual audition doesn't start till like 2 p.m. But I know like you need to be there really early. So I'm like, do I get ready really early, head down there and just like do therapy in line?
Exposure therapy.
I'm not really sure. Or like, that's the thing is like, I really haven't done these in person. So I don't know if like I can put my name on a list and then like peace out for like 45 minutes to do my audition.
From what I've seen, it, like even with the Little Women call, is that people go, you put your name on the list and then you leave because like
it's gonna be fucking hours,
right? Like you can't just like sit there. Like I saw one girl, she put her name on the list, like went home for 2 hours and then went back.
Yeah. So I think what I might do is try and go put my name down. Maybe come back here and do my therapy. Haven't really figured out the details of this plan and then go back.
So crazy.
I've been in a little bit of a negative headspace the past few days and I'm not really sure why, but I have been like really trying to stick to my routines and something I've really become a tea girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's something to like sticking to these little routines that like helps like sort of keep you going even when you're down. But like, I'm not really a religious person, but I do think there's something very special about having like practices. And it's weird because like my practice of making my tea in the morning and having my tea at evening has like very quickly become something that is like very special and precious to me.
Yeah.
So even though I'm in a bit of a grumpy mood, like still doing it, like it makes me feel like a couple percentages better.
Yeah, I get that. I said to Olivia yesterday, I just like, like moving is exhausting in many ways. And so I feel like I've been very tired this week. And so yesterday I was like, and my hard drive broke and I figured out that I wasn't going to be able to get any of my data back, which was very depressing. But I was like to Olivia, I was like, I'm so grumpy and angry and like why? Like I always like sometimes I'll be like sad or feeling some negative emotions and I'll be like, why am I feeling this way? Or like kind of like judging it. But you kind of just like have to let it happen.
Yeah, so
Ride the wave.
I'm going through it. I think
Yeah.
part of what's putting me in a slightly grumpy mood is, so I thought for a while that I was just seeing things in my own head, but I finally did. Like, I made a comment of this to my friend the other day while at work, and she was like, no, absolutely. Of
Oh yeah.
one of my bosses, I already told Sarah about this last night, but I'm going to go into detail, that one of my bosses clearly either very much dislikes me or thinks I'm incredibly stupid. We're not sure. My friend thinks that she just thinks I'm incredibly stupid, which I find honestly more insulting than just hating me, because hating me, fine, fucking whatever. And it's just like really been frustrating me because like I like it's just like very not enjoyable to have someone like talk down to you and be like demeaning and just like very passive aggressive. And like I'm a pretty friendly, bubbly, like joking sort of person, and that doesn't mean that I'm dumb, but even if I was, like, there's no reason to be fucking rude to me about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like I thought I was seeing things, and my friend was like, no, it's just like really unnecessary, and I don't really know where it's coming from. But it's just like what like makes me annoyed is like she had initially had like over a month ago made a comment of like, so when are you gonna buy something, because I haven't bought anything from the store I'm working at.
Rude.
Because like we get a discount, but it's still expensive shit. And I'm like, you don't know my fucking situation, like don't comment.
Yeah.
And like I like, so something I do is I have earrings that I always wear. And when I go to work, they like us to wear their jewelry, so I take off the earrings and I just put them on my middle fingers because they kind of fit like rings, and then I put in earrings from the store.
Yeah.
And like I've shown a lot of people, like, isn't this kind of silly, goofy, and most people find it like funny, like it's like a strange little weird thing I do.
Yeah.
And she like reacted in a weird way, and like sometimes she like kind of will make a joke about it, but like she like kind of said like, oh, I like, she was like made a comment of how I hadn't kind of bought anything again, and I was like, well, things are expensive, like being an actor is expensive, like kind of making a joke. And she was like, oh, you were really acting in your interview, and like kind of like said like that I like hustled or lied to them in the interview, which people do that in interviews, that's fine.
Yeah,
but like,
okay, people do that all the time.
But B, like I really do like the stuff. I just don't. I have more important things to do with my money right now.
So, okay, because during the interview, you were like, I really like this stuff.
And I do. I've liked the brand for like over a decade at this point.
So she's like insinuating you're lying because you won't buy anything.
And she very much like bosses me around, and like she's my boss, but like does it in a way that I feel like is different to me than other people. Like I really do think that she just thinks I'm incredibly stupid. And like as much as I know that I'm not, it feels really shitty. Like I got home last night and I'd been in a good mood most of the day, and I even had been plotting myself about how I've been doing with or like spending, and I ended up door dashing myself ramen because I was just like sad and I'm feeling sick, and like it just felt shitty to spend the whole day having someone like talk down to you.
Yeah, no, that's not cool. I have like a similar situation that I've witnessed. Like I've been the person witnessing this, somebody that's being like spoken to differently than the rest of the people, and it's obvious and it's not nice. Like it's so blatantly obvious when somebody of authority is treating one person very specifically differently. So I feel terrible, and I'm so sorry that they're treating you that way.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I did to her, but
you know what? You're doing your job, and like that's that. The tea is this is a job, a job. It's a job. You're making money, and like, so what? You haven't bought anything. Like
I don't have to. That's not a fucking job requirement.
Has she asked everybody else this question?
No, I also don't think that's a fucking appropriate question to ask an employee.
It's not an appropriate question because, like you said, the jewelry is expensive. I bet not everybody there can afford to buy it. And so, what if you just didn't want to?
Yeah, like I don't need to own anything of jewelry to fucking work here. Like
what? That's like, okay. I mean, does Lululemon give you guys stuff to wear?
No, they give you a discount.
Okay. I'm trying to think, but that's just like the same thing, like of any.
But like,
store.
no one would be like, "Why the fuck haven't you bought anything?
Why haven't you bought anything?" Like,
because I'm like, even with the discount, most shit is over $100.
Yeah, that's expensive.
I've got other shit that I need to do with my money right now. Like, you don't know my situation. I was fucking depressed for 6 months and not working. Like, I'm really trying to get my finances in fucking order.
Yeah.
And you like just get off my fucking butt.
No,
anyway,
rude.
that's my rant. I'm gonna double check
Rude.
my notes if there was anything else, but no, I was literally in such a pissy mood. Last night was when I wanted to call my mommy and complain, but she was
Coming, mommy, and
I wanted to call my mommy. Yeah, and I've really been missing like having a feeling of community.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I've really been realizing in the last like 6 to 8 months of my life, like how hard it is for like with my friendships to like get us all together. Like I'm thinking specifically of my hometown friends. Love you guys if you're listening. No hate, no shade. But like it's been impossible to get us all together because we're on different work schedules. We have different lives. It is just like, it's tough.
My friend Emma and I, we finally caught up for like a couple hours this week, but like it's taken us like 4 months to do that, and we've really been trying to see each other, and we just like it has not been able to fucking happen.
Yeah, I feel like when people like you are built into my life, Liz is built into my life, it's so much easier. Like Olivia's built into my life, but when you're not like built into somebody's life, it can be really hard, especially if you're running on like very opposite schedules. Like I'm thinking of my friend Erin, like she works Tuesday to Saturday because like that's how her schedule works, and so Saturday's like one of the days I have open, and I was like texting my friends, I was like, anybody want to do brunch on this day? And it's like, oh, one man down because she's working, and it just like sucks.
Yeah,
it's a shitty situation. An update for me that I forgot about, I went and saw Renee rap.
Yes, you did.
You may not be able to see. Oh, there we go. It adjusted. Sorry guys. I'm like watching the camera go in and out, but I have good tits and a big heart.
You do.
Thank you. It was so good.
I'm so happy for you.
So good. Wait, I'll tell you guys a funny story. So we got these tickets. So it was at Avant-Garde, the Great Hall. Like that is where, what's it called? That place in Brooklyn. Brooklyn Mirage, which was a little scary because if you've heard about the Brooklyn, if you've heard about the Brooklyn Mirage lately, they found 2 male bodies in a river near there. Yes.
Shit, I did hear about this.
Yes, and it makes sense, like, because it's such an industrial area. Like, there is nothing out there besides these, like, besides, like, different warehouses. But we go, like, anyway, we had the tickets. And so the tickets that we got were, like, on this, like, raised platform, which was really nice because you could, like, overlook the GA area. And also, we had, like, these spotlights on us the entire time. I was like, You famous.
Are the center of attention.
I am VIP. I know her personally. Like, don't fuck with me. But like, so the thing about the concert was like, we got there early because, you know, we wanted to make sure we could have a good view. And then she has 2 openers, and then she didn't go on it. So we got there at 7. She didn't go on till 9:40.
Shit, that's almost 3 hours.
Yes. Love you, Miss Renee. But 9:40.
That's
and her
too late
set was, I was in the car by 11. Isn't that insane? And I know she doesn't have a lot of music, so I totally get it. Like, you're new, whatever. But I was shocked. That was the only thing I was disappointed with, was the fact that she came on at 9:40. I'd stood there for almost 3 hours, and then I was in a car going to Henrietta's by 11:05. Yeah. But otherwise, it was amazing. And she had Kesha there.
I heard.
Yes,
I was so jealous
which was really cool. Oh, but the crazy story was, so basically, we were on this raised platform, and then there was a platform in front of us that had like bottle service tables. And so we figured like, oh my God, like this is probably where her VIPs are going to be, whatever. But then like after her 2 openers go on, they start like moving the couches out of the way and creating like a general space area. So we're like, oh my God, we're probably going to get to go like up against the first railing. And so I'm just standing there patiently waiting. And then all of a sudden, out of my corner of my eye, I start seeing people like run. So I don't know what came over me. I saw red and I just ran, and I got like at the front of the bar. But Liz got held back because the security guards were like, we're gonna let you go if you guys are patient, like da 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 da. And I was like, oh no. And she's like, Liz is like, stay there. And eventually she comes and she's like, I am so proud of you. I was like, I don't even know what happened. Like, I don't know how I got to this spot. Like, I feel like somebody had to like transport me to get there. But it was so good. Such a good experience. That's all I can say. So good. Are we ready to move into the next portion?
I think we are.
All right, guys, we have a sexy next portion coming up.
Nancy Purdy warning.
Nancy motherfucking Purdy wording. Seriously, if you're an adult and know me, log
Don't
off
listen
now.
to this, please.
Log off now.
Also, if you're my sister-in-law and Adele's listening, don't let her listen to the rest of this, please. So just as a reminder, Nancy Purdy, Adele, don't listen to this.
Please do not listen to this. Seriously. Okay?
Thank you.
Anyways. Okay, so the other day I was scrolling through Instagram and something came up on my I was going to say For You page, but it's not a For You page. I guess like Instagram page. I don't know.
There's definitely a word for it.
I don't know. My
feed.
Your feed. The feed. And it was this article from the New York Times. And
I had also seen it. I hope you know.
And well, especially, let me just say the title. So the title is New York Times 8 Sex Myths That Experts Wish Would Go Away.
I would say one quick thing. I am a little annoyed at the New York Times. I still subscribe to them and I like read their news, but I am a little annoyed at their annoyed is not the right word, but with their coverage of Palestine right now.
100%.
Acknowledgement.
Just a quick acknowledgement. I saw this, and the first myth that we'll get into literally like came for me. And so I was like, oh wait, this may be interesting to kind of like go through these 8 myths, talk about how we feel about them, how they relate to like 20s life, and like you guys should comment and tell us like what you think about these myths too, because they're really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've heard so many of these. So yeah. Slay. So let's get into it. Also, I'll put like maybe when we
link the
article, and like maybe we can put like the author somewhere on the screen so that they, because we didn't write these things. Like just we're not taking any credit. Okay.
We take credit for nothing.
Take credit for nothing. And that's why I wore my Good Tits Big Heart shirt, because it just like felt appropriate. Okay. So the first myth is everyone else is having more sex than you.
Guys, you want to know the last time that I had sex? Any type of sex? 3 years ago.
Boom. Yes, this one like called me to my core, because a couple like maybe like a year ago, I would say a year ago at this point, like I was really struggling with like the amount of sex I was having in my relationship, and like thinking about like, oh my God, I bet people are having like so much more sex than me, and like da 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 da. And it like really impacted the way I thought about my relationship. And in this article under this myth, the statistic is, I'll literally read it word for word. 1 in 3 people have had no partnered sex in the prior year.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple friends about it, and it has made me feel better. Of like, I have other friends who haven't had sex in over 2 years, and like I felt, and like I know this isn't true, but it made me feel like such a loser that I haven't had sex in 3 years, even though it's been very much by my choice. If I wanted to have sex, I'm pretty sure I could go find someone to have sex with.
No, I think it does. Like I remember last year feeling really insecure about my relationship, because I was like, we should be fucking every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how you show you're in love, right? Like you should be having a lot of sex, and like, and it was just really hard, especially like at the beginning of my relationship with my partner. We both had a lot of sex, maybe trauma or things that we needed to like work through. Like I was working through a lot of like internalized homophobia that was severely impacting our sex life. My partner was working through their own shit, and like I was expecting us to, like, because of what you see in the movies, like what people talk about, like to be having sex like almost every day. And like as I've been in this relationship for a longer time and gotten older, I've just realized that there are so many different factors that affect your sex life. Tired, distracted, mental health, physical health, like trauma, medication, that like you got to do what works for you. And you know what? If fucking every day works for you, God bless your heart. If doing it a couple times a week works for you, amazing. Once a week, once a month, like, and also people go through these like spells of like not really being into sex, and then a couple months will pass, and like that's all you want to do. So it's just like this myth really got me like being like in my head.
I remember like back in high school being so insecure, and like I had sex my freshman year of college, first semester, and was I ready? Should I have had sex? Probably not. I'm going to like say as an upfront, no percent of the person pressure me. It was very much my own thing of like, I just want to rip off the Band-Aid. I want this to be done. I feel super lame.
That's what this myth said, was that a lot of high schoolers will just have sex and not with somebody that they really like, or just like,
I did not enjoy the experience.
Yeah, because they want to have sex because they think everybody else has had it.
I just was like, oh, I need to get this done with.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
No, I have a friend in high school who did something similar. Like, all of us were starting to lose our virginities for the first time, and
which also, virginity is a complete social construct, not a real thing.
Yes. That's another myth that we'll get into.
Yeah.
And you know, she wasn't really like dating anybody or seeing anybody, and you know, she met someone random on a dating app and had sex with him for the first time, and you know, like, it wasn't the best experience.
No, I mean, like, something that, like, we'll get into this further, but like, a lot of my like beginning sexual experiences were more scary than enjoyable.
Right.
And like, not in a way that I'm like blaming like my partners necessarily, but like in a way where like a lot of it was on me, of like not,
we're not
being
taught.
Comfortable or ready or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, that has definitely affected the rest of my sex life, of like, my initial experiences were scary and painful.
Yes. And I think I feel like it really does come down to our sexual education and not being taught how to advocate, what, like, you know, and all these different things. And I've written notes about this, like, about different myths. I was like, oh, I wish I knew about this, because it would have made so many of my earlier sex experience so much better. Something with this myth, the first myth of like everyone else is having more sex, before we move on to the next one that I did want to say, is like, I feel like in my relationship now, we are in the best place that we've ever been in terms of our sex life. And something that this article said that I think really has helped it too, is just like having, it was so funny. The article literally said that like, you are naked in front of this person but won't want to talk about sex with them. And I think something that has really helped me and my partner is just having such an open, honest dialogue about sex, like weaving it into our rapport. Like, it is made wonder. It's like helped our sex life so much.
I have so many thoughts on that. Like, okay, so I know everyone always says like consent is sexy, like blah blah, but I think most people mean it in the way of like, not getting consent is very unsexy.
Right.
But I've been thinking about this a lot over probably like the past 6 months, of like, no, it is like, if you are scared and you don't know what's about to happen, not very sexy or fun. Like, having consent and having had a proper discussion about like what you're okay with, what you're not, and knowing what is going to happen to your body in this experience.
Yeah.
Much more sexy.
Totally.
Like, it's not very sexy when you're straight up scared.
Right. 100%.
And like, you can only have that through conversation. And if you're not at a place to have that conversation, because I get it, they like feel really awkward and they're hard.
Oh,
and I know this is a cliche, but like, if you can't discuss it, maybe you shouldn't have sex.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't listen to that advice at all. I mean, one of my friends literally, the first time she had sex, it was with someone she like kind of knew, and she was like, made sure she was drunk because she was like nervous about it, and she gave me the advice of like, don't be drunk for it. No, I did the same thing because I was also afraid and just wanted it to be over with and wanted to just like get through it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Not the best idea.
Yeah. And I think with talking about sex, like, something I recommend, because it's truly like practice makes perfect. Like, you know, honestly, we started off by, and I've mentioned this a couple times on the pod, like using card games that would kind of fuel the conversation. And then we started like talking about like during like aftercare, like when we're like laying there and like just like kind of talking about the experience. And then like it's like evolved to this point where like, you know, we can just like throw it into regular conversation and like discuss, like, it's just so much more natural now.
I very much like, something that I am still very insecure about is like, oh, what if I'm bad at sex? I've not had very much sex.
Yeah.
With not many people. And like, what if I'm no fucking good? And something that I have like discussed with friends and like my therapist is like, as much as there's like probably is to some level being better or worse at sex, like every person is different and what they like you need to learn what they like. It's not about just like a general person. What works for one person is not going to work for another person.
Yeah.
And you can only find that out through talking to each other.
Totally.
They can't read your goddamn mind.
Right. Because then you could be like having quote unquote bad sex, but it's not. It's because you're not saying like, hey, like you do this and I'm not like really into that.
Yeah. And it's
Could
nothing about like,
it
it feels
nothing
mean
about,
or insulting to your like partner, but like it's not.
It's
like
nothing about them. It's like what your preferences are and how are they supposed to pleasure you if they don't know how to.
Exactly.
And that's the tea. Mic drop. Myth number 2. Sex means penetration.
Yes.
Yes, this is another myth that I really struggled with being in my relationship.
Particularly, I think being bi, because I think like
You've had both.
and like it is different, and I think like it's easier if you're in one camp or the other to have people understand what you're referring to when you say one or the other. But it's a little more tricky.
Yeah, I like this quote that they said in the article. It says, "We need to move beyond defining sex by a single behavior." And this is something that my partner actually preached from the beginning, but it took me a really long time to wrap my head around, because early on, like, again, dealing with a lot of internalized homophobia, when we were having sex, like, after it, was like, where is the wiener?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's other means of penetration that we do engage in, but it felt maybe not real or valid.
Yeah, like sex in my head, like, even though I'm trying to write this, ends when the guy comes.
Right. Like, I was like, it felt so weird. That is so true. It felt so weird at the beginning of our relationship because I was so used to sex ending like when the man came, or like that, and like what sex looked like prior to this was just so different, and I was really struggling with that. Versus now, where like what I have with my partner now just feels normal and natural, and I'm not thinking about the the dick involved.
But like we are very much taught about sex framed from the male perspective.
100%. It's like what you see in the movies. Like that is what you think sex is the moment where the two things are coming together and interlocking. Like that is what you think. But there's so many other things, and everybody has their own definition. Like one person could think like fingering is sex, where another person is like, no, oral is. So like everybody has their own definition of it. And this was really interesting. Like some of the statistics in this myth. It says this myth has contributed to the pleasure gap between men and women. 75% of men said they orgasmed every time they had been sexually intimate within the past month, compared oh my God, I should have read this better. Sorry guys. I'm going to start again for this one because we need to feel this, okay? 75% of men said they orgasmed every time they had been sexually intimate within the past month, compared with 33% of heterosexual women.
Yeah. Big gap. And then it was also, I think it was this in the same article where they showed the statistic of like men's percentage of orgasming, like when doing something by themselves, like when masturbating and when having sex with someone, pretty even. Whereas women's, when masturbating versus when having sex with a man, very different.
No.
So that means women aren't incapable of doing it.
No, literally this statistic got me 75 compared to 33%. That is literally insane. But I understand how that's happening because this is very vulnerable. But like the first person that I was having sex with, like, you know, it was all about him, never really about me. I didn't even know women could come. And that's on sexual education not being proper.
Bad.
Literally, because I was like 16 years old and didn't even know women could orgasm, and like the whole thing was about him. Like it's just, oh my God, insane. Okay, myth number 3, vaginas shouldn't need extra lubrication.
Oftentimes they do. Like a medication can affect it, but also like plenty of people just need it, and that's okay, and like it'll make it more comfortable and enjoyable. Like that's something I like wished the first few times that I had sex that I like we had used extra something.
Literally, that's what I have written down.
Well, the first time I had sex, or the first person I had sex with,
you guys were drunk.
Somewhat, not like we weren't like
okay.
crazy drunk. We were like a little tipsy, but more so, we skipped everything in between. We made out and then went straight from that to sex.
Well, that's the issue.
And we
literally
went nothing in between.
Oh my God.
So I was not there was no even dampness going on down there.
Ooh,
and
oh my God, owie.
Yeah, and like my other friends who like I'd spoken to about their first experiences, those who did use some sort of lubricant had a significantly more enjoyable time.
Yeah, because it's it's especially that first time, like it's like kind of like shocking and like can be painful because you're not used to like having something that big up in there. But I wrote that down too, is like I wish in high school they taught that lubricant is this aid, like it's not this thing, because I think
it is not an enemy,
right? Because I think men get in their teeny weeny eeny beeny brains about it, and they're like,
am I not enough?
And did I not make you wet enough? Like, when if they just saw it as this thing to like help their woman out or like help them out, like put it on your pee-wee, like do something about it. Like, you know, I just think it makes the experience so much more pleasurable. Even with fingering, like sometimes like you said, medications, other factors, like whatever. And so it just makes it more of an enjoyable process. I love this one quote that was in this article. It says, "As I often tell my students, vaginas are not rainforests." Isn't that hysterical?
Yeah, that's really good. That's
So,
really good.
Use lube, guys. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's the best.
It's
I have
your
it
friend.
in. It is. I have it in my nightstand.
I have one in my nightstand too. I've not had sex, but I I mean, I haven't had sex.
But it's there. Like
Yes.
you just need lube. Need lube in your life.
It cannot hurt to have.
And I'm gonna make a compilation of this so a lube brand will sponsor us. Okay.
I don't know what brand I use.
I use KY.
I don't use them. I use one that like I think was like clean recommended.
Yeah, I should probably use something like that.
Because if it's going inside my body.
Yeah, you probably, yeah, I should probably think about that. Okay, we'll get back to this. Myth number 4, it is normal for sex to hurt. Like the first thing that they said after this is, it is important to remember that sex should not hurt. 75% of women experience painful sex at some point in their life.
Yes. So the first time that I had sex, we're referencing it a lot today. This person doesn't listen to the podcast though, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It was painful and so obviously painful that the person apologized to me afterwards.
Oof.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Which is not a great feeling.
Yeah. Painful sex is really interesting because like, you know, obviously the first couple of times I had sex, it wasn't like the most comfortable thing, but it wasn't painful, and it was
very
okay.
painful.
Yeah, it was okay in that sense, but in my second relationship, toward like the end of it, and it was a very toxic relationship, like sex was painful, and I literally felt like it was my body rejecting this person. Like literally, we tried everything and it was just like it was not comfortable.
No.
Yeah, I feel, and like this statistic says, like I feel like so many friends and acquaintances and people I talk to who are women talk about having painful sex, and it's something that I feel like women, we kind of just like breeze by because it's like
You just suck it up.
yeah,
But like I remember so many times like during sex, like just wanting it to be over as soon as possible.
yeah,
Just wanting
Yeah.
it to be done with.
yeah, because I feel like especially like if it goes on for a long time and it's uncomfortable, like you're just getting more and more pain, and that's not fun. And this is where lube can come in and really help you too, is if something is like if you are feeling like dry down there or like whatever, like slap some lube on.
Yes.
It's the best. Okay, myth number 5, men always want more sex than women do.
Not inherently true at all.
No, not at all. Something that I've written down, because I feel like this is something I've learned, especially like in the last couple years with my relationship, is like sex drives ebb and flow so much. Like literally before we started recording, I was like, I feel like with sex and like horniness, it's like a couple days before my period, on my period, and right after, like that is the when I want to have sex like the most.
Yeah, because your hormones are fluctuating.
Right. Otherwise, like sometimes I go through these like months where I'm just like, I still enjoy having sex, but it's not like the top of mind. Whereas some other months, it's like your hormones are just like different, and you're just like feeling like you want to have it.
I have really no interest in sex right now. I'm on a super high dose of Zoloft. If I'm stoned, that's basically the only time I'll get horny currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just like have no interest really in sex at all.
Right. And the like, and that like affects like the whole, like everyone's having more sex than me, like, you know, and feeling, and I like, cause I've had times where maybe I've not been as like horny, and like you kind of judge it. You're like, why don't I want to do this? Or like,
Well, like there is a part of me that like is a little sad. Like we are young, and there is like a large part of me that really wants to be engaged with that part of myself. And like that is something that I think is difficult about a lot of SSRIs, and something I've spoken to about like with my therapist. If she's like, this is why I don't feel like SSRIs are a good like sort of permanent solution, because just having that part of your life, which like is a huge part of not just life but particularly romantic relationships, just completely cut off
is like not the best.
No, it's not what you want for forever. And like there is like, I'm gonna admit, there is a part of me that like it bums me fucking out. Like I wish I had more of a sex drive, and like it especially makes me sad because I know that it is from a medication that I can't not be on right now.
Right.
I have to be on it. And like it makes like dating more complicated.
Sure.
Like, I have a lot of shit to explain to someone and unpack and let them know about with sex. And like the last time I had sex with someone when I was on an antidepressant, it was with the only long-term partner that I've had. And as much as it was not the reason we broke up, sex was a factor in us breaking up.
Yeah, I think sex like has a lot to do with like people breaking up and things like that, or it can play a big role. Like I was thinking with this myth, like I remember in the article they talked about like when the woman is the higher desiring partner, like in a heterosexual relationship, let's just talk that way right now, when the woman is the higher desired partner than the man, and like you know, the pressure of the man, like, oh, you're a man, like you're supposed to want to have a lot of sex, like why don't you want to have a lot of sex with me, like da da da. I know that I've struggled with like being a higher desire partner, and sometimes I'm like, why don't you want to have sex with me, like da da da, and it has nothing to do with you at all.
Like so many factors can affect that.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson, like because I think when you know, in high school you're a horny high schooler, like I don't know, I was having a lot of sex in high school.
I was having no sex in high school. I barely even kissed anyone in high school. I think I kissed 2 people.
I think about all the time, I'm like, how did I do that? Like that, it sounds like so insane to me right now, like, you know. So yeah, I think it's not true that men always want more sex than women do.
Yes.
You know, we can want to be like fucked a lot too. Damn.
I used to like read such, I don't know if any of y'all were fan fiction people.
Fanfic.
I ran so much like dirty smut
Fanfic.
like all the time.
I love it. Okay, myth number 6, desire should happen instantly.
Yes.
What do you think about this one? I thought this one is interesting.
Yes.
Because it can kind of go like 2 ways.
You go first.
Okay, so basically in the article they describe that there are 2 types of like desire: spontaneous and like a response to stimuli. And then this doctor, it's Dr. Brotto, people tend to think that spontaneous sex is better, but Dr. Brotto wants to normalize like non-spontaneous sex, like planned sex, or like, you know, when you're responding to a stimuli. I think this is interesting because like I agree that sometimes I have been like, our sex life is so like non-spontaneous, because it does like, we can like, I can feel when it's coming and da da da. And obviously we've had moments of like spontaneity, and I think that spontaneity comes from having a good like a good conversations about sex and like feeling comfortable in the situation. I think that like opens up spontaneity. But I've also had times where I think both my partner and I maybe haven't been in the mood, but like something opens us up to being in the mood. Like I know for my partner, which is like kind of crazy, and this just speaks to like who they are, like in what they prefer, but we'll have like emotional conversations and that'll turn them on.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I thought that was crazy.
I think like the like spontaneous sex seems like more romantic and sexy, but like practically within the real world, like
it's hard.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, like again, kind of going back to the thing of like, I need to be warmed up a bit. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
That's not how my fucking body works.
Right. I think like, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hard to just kind of like throw your body into it.
Particularly with like everything happening in the world. Like,
right. I think I'm more able to do something like spontaneous, I think, when I'm like tipsy a little bit.
Yes.
I used to hate having any sort of tipsy like sex or drunk sex, because you know, your body parts are numb. You don't feel anything. And so I was like, what's the point of this? And da 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 da. But I think something that's I've come around to a lot is like like I don't need to orgasm for me to like have a good time. Like I don't like, you know, like
that was something that like, so with the one long-term partner that I had, like I remember like I never faked orgasms, but he did one time ask how many times. I've told this story before, but I think it's very funny. How many times did you come? And I was just like, I don't keep track. And like I should have been more honest. That's on me. But like it wasn't that like I wasn't necessarily enjoying our sex.
Right. No, I think like the last time Olivia and I had gotten drunk, like we like had this like fun tipsy like moment and and you know like nobody came from that situation. We could barely
like, it
feel
can
our
still be enjoyable.
but it's so fun. Like your inhibitions are low, and again, like we've created this space where we feel comfortable with the spontaneity. But I also do think like the response to stimuli can be important too. Like we've never really like, and I've never with a partner yet like been like, all right, 5:30 on a Wednesday, like we're gonna have sex. But you know, sometimes your lives get really busy, and like you know, it gets to that point. But like if that's working for you, like you shouldn't be judged because of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So and
I think that's like kind of fun, and like you like knowing that it's going to be like you can sort of like build up and like do little flirts throughout like the day, and like
oh my god, again, I love that.
Kind of like knowing what's going to happen, like at least for me, like that is a positive to me, like in actual practice of life. As much as like spontaneity is like fun and sexy, like I don't think that would practically work for me very well.
Yeah, I think like it's sex, like especially with like the movies. Like I know I kind of struggled with like the spontaneous element of like, all right, I want you to pick me up and throw me against the wall and like.
I don't want you to think I'm so hot that like you can't like restrain yourself.
Right, and I just think in the real world,
like
it's
that's not how life works.
Right, like yes, those moments can happen, but it's not like that is going to happen like every single fucking time. And we just need to normalize that, because I know for so long, like I just felt so insecure about like not having this like crazy sex that you see in the movies. But like, come on, like
it's
guys,
a movie.
It's a fucking movie. Like, of course the sex scene is going to be hot, you know? Sorry guys, we had to change out some thingy images. Camera. The thing is we are all parts of this podcast, so we gotta like do it all, you know?
Yes. And we don't know how to do
it all. So sometimes it's a little cry. All right, so myth number 7, or did we do planned sex is boring?
Yeah.
We did talk about it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, enough.
Yeah. But yes, planned sex is boring. Oh, and something that it's not boring. But that's the myth, is planned sex is boring. And then something from the article I thought was interesting is like them saying that this is a harmful view because it leads to many people treating sex like an afterthought, doing it late at night when they're exhausted and distracted. And I relate to this, especially lately. I've been realizing like I am not a late night sex person. Like I love a good like 9 p.m. moment. Not like right before I go to bed, because I will fall asleep.
Fair.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting thing too.
So
okay, last myth, you guys. Your penis doesn't stack up.
So not one I've super experienced.
No,
but
not one I've experienced.
Like similar can be like experience of like, I think there is like a harmful myth around like the more sex women have, like the looser they become. And it's like,
yeah.
Oh, what if my vagina's bad? Like I can't do shit about that.
Right. Something that I wrote about, because I was like, oh wait, this one really doesn't pertain to me, but I've heard this, you know. I know that cis men, people with penises, they experience a lot of pressure to be a certain size, a certain girth or whatever. But something I thought about, like in addition, like in substitution of this, is like the whole idea of having like vaginal hair, and like people's like preferences around that. And I was like, because is it bad or good to have it, like and I remember my first sexual partner, like they told me to shave down there, and that was like such a crazy moment for me. And I went through this like really long period of time of like always wanting to be like stripped down to the bone, like no hair. And now I'm like in this place where I'm like, I don't care. Like obviously I like it well kept, but it's just like, this should be my choice, not yours.
And like your partner can have a preference.
Oh, sure.
But if you're going to express that, you need to be like A, very polite, and B, you need to be okay with your partner might not do it.
Right.
It's their body.
I think there's a certain way to talk about it. You need to be respectful,
Yes.
like not demand it, not like shame somebody for having hair. Like down there, we all do. Nobody's asking like a cis man to like choppity chop.
No, even when like they're nasty.
It's nasty.
Do you want to know something funny that happened? I don't know, like a couple of months ago that I almost brought up on the podcast.
Okay.
So if I'm having sex, I typically like get a bit like trimmed down, whatever. But I've not been having sex in a while, so I just haven't really cared about that. I was in the shower the other day, making sure everything was all washed. There was a knot in my pubic hair. It was so long. There was a legit knot. There was a tangle.
No way.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with my life. And I kept thinking of, I don't know if you've seen the scene I've not even watched this movie, but for some reason I've seen this clip multiple times from one of the Sex and the City movies where they're like, there's a jungle going on down there or something. And I'm like, there's a straight up jungle.
No, I need to do your European wax center. You know, I get a lot of ingrown hairs, and so I've like tried shaving. Now, like I'm at a weight where like I can't really see what's going on down there, and so I need to get waxed. But also waxing is just like such an experience. I feel like sometimes I need to like emotionally prep for like my vagina being like, and and the thing is, and I understand why the people who are waxing talk to you and want to make you feel comfortable.
Yes.
But I am just like, please don't talk to me. Like, let me just focus and be
talking
calm.
to someone while they're literally inside
like
your butthole.
labia out. Like, no, like please just don't talk to me.
I've a couple times made the mistake of getting waxed while on my period just because of how things
and
I
the
know.
little string is there.
A, the string. B, it hurts so much more.
I know. Oh my God. I have made that mistake too. And I remember the first time it happened to me, I was like, oh my God, what do I do?
I went and asked them, I was like, do you want a tampon? Do you want a tampon? Do you not? I don't know which is better.
I know.
And I went into the bathroom beforehand and I made sure to like make sure there was no blood anywhere.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, but those are the myths.
There's one more thing that I did want to bring up.
Yes, you did.
And so like trigger warning, talking about sexual assault, not in detail by any means. But another thing is I want to talk about some statistics on sexual violence.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of myths around sexual violence. There are a lot of people that go and talk about like as if it's overreported and that women like use it to get back at men. And it's, if anything, deeply underreported because I know so many people have experienced sexual assault, including myself. Most of us have not reported it. But sexual violence is very common. Over half of women and 1 in 3 men experience sexual violence in their lifetime. 1 in 4 women and about 1 in 26 men have experienced completed or attempted rape. Sexual violence starts early.
So the statistic is 1 in 4 women, but 1 in 26 men.
Yes.
Interesting.
Sexual violence starts early. More than 4 in 5 rape survivors reported that they were first raped before the age of 25. And it does disproportionately affect women and people who are not white. And how like that can affect your sex life. Like I was sexually assaulted years ago and I'm at a relatively good place with it. But like it very much still affects me. Like there is still a huge part of me that sex is very scary to me. And like, again, going back to that partner where like sex was not the reason we broke up, but definitely a part of it. Like we had these conversations where I was like, A, I'm on medication that really affects my sex drive.
Yeah.
And B, I have this very scary history that like is very difficult for me. And he would say in conversations that he was okay with it and understood. But then when it practically came to us having sex,
he wouldn't.
Less.
Yeah.
And I think there was like an expectation to like move on and like let go. And like I haven't been able to. It still very much affects me. Like I'm very afraid of sex. Like it is something I will never let go of. Like I even felt like it took me probably like at least 9 months before I even told anyone.
Yeah.
I for the longest time went back and forth on whether or not I had to count it in my body count. Which you don't have to. Rape isn't sex.
Right.
But that like it very much is a part of life that so many people, especially women, fucking experience. And there's not a lot of support for it. And like you're expected to still like be fucking ready to go, even though like with again this former partner, like I would flinch sometimes when they touched me because I was still had a lot of fucking trauma from it. But just like to anyone who's experienced that, I am so fucking sorry for you.
Yeah.
Not sorry for you, but I'm so sorry that you had experienced that. I'm so fucking angry for you that person did it. And like, you deserve patience and kindness and fucking everything, and that it's okay if it fucking affects you. It's been years for me. It still fucking affects me.
100%. I even think like, even if you have done work and have gone like and gotten like treated like most of, you know, where it's not like something that you're constantly thinking about, like there will be times where things come up for you. Like I have not like there's definitely experiences that I've had where I don't think I was 100% consenting, and I even still think about those things, and they'll come up for me, and like, you know, and then you're like, hey, like I'm just like feeling some type of way. And yeah, like you said, I really feel like your partner, whoever you're with, like, you know, if you're comfortable speaking about this with them, please do. And like that person needs to be patient with you and understand that like you are working through things. Yeah, it's terrible. It's fucking horrific. And like, not to say that like obviously men don't experience rape, because they do, but I think just to put in perspective, like 1 in 4 women versus 1 in 26 men.
Something that really fucking infuriated me, and like, I love my dad very much, but something that infuriated me is I was having a conversation with him. So he now has 2 sons and 4 daughters, but my brother is trans, so went through college presenting as a woman.
Yeah.
And I brought up to him one time and I slightly misquoted the statistic of like the statistics of how many women are sexually assaulted in college.
Yeah.
And I was like 1 off with the number. And I was like, so your problem is more that I got the statistic wrong than the fact that the statistic is, I think it was probably at least 2 of your daughters have been sexually assaulted. That isn't your fucking problem.
Yeah.
And I think it's very much not talked about, and oftentimes there really is no fucking recourse. And something that's really difficult is like, a lot of sexual assault happens from people you fucking know.
Yeah.
And to, not that a ton of men listen to this podcast, but like, if you see those behaviors in your friends, fucking call them out. There is, I forget his name, but a comedian who like talks about it in his stand-up of how like he had a friend sexually assaulted by another one of his friends, and how he had seen patterns in this person, and it will have to be on him his whole fucking life that he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that if this has happened to you, like, so many women this has happened to, and you are not fucking alone.
Yeah, you are not alone. And when you feel comfortable talking to somebody about it, like, you know, there will be somebody out there that like is there for you and will hold that space for you. Yeah, that was important to mention. I feel like that is like such a underrated or under talked about thing about sex, is like the violence that can come with it, the sexual assault that can come with it, you know.
Well, even just like in so much porn, like it is very violent towards women. And like, that's the thing, is like, even before this incident happened to me, like my first few sexual experiences were very violent and scary. Like, I think I've told this story before of how the first time I hooked up with someone, they started choking me. They didn't give me any context. They didn't give me any warning. It was the first time we were hooking up. I was young in college, and like I literally had the moment where I, like, no joke, and I like tell this story kind of as a joke, but I was like, oh, this is where I die.
Right. Because those sorts of things, like especially like with BDSM and like things which are totally valid if you like them, like we're not judging. But again, it all comes down to your communication, and those things need to be communicated, because they are really jarring and they can be really scary. And like,
and I've had multiple partners start choking me with no prior warning, which insane. I'm like, why would you think that is okay? Not that it is like a bad thing to do, but like specifically with choking, there are safe ways to do it and unsafe ways to do it.
100%.
They could have hurt me.
Right. Yes. So again, make sure you guys are communicating with people. If there's something that somebody's doing that you don't like, you better tell them. I know it's fucking uncomfortable, but I promise you, like, it makes the world a difference. And I know, like, for me, like, I've gotten so much more comfortable with like receiving feedback in the bedroom, and because I want them
to have a good time.
Like, you want this person to have another fucking good time. Yes. Okay. So that's the T-Cherie. Boom.
That's our college reference.
Yes. But we'll leave this article in the description for you guys if you guys want to read it. It was like such an interesting read, and we hope that this was fun, cool,
Sorry for ending things on a bummer note.
Oh
but
no, I think it's an important note to end on, but this was like really fun. I love like articles that we can like kind of like talk about and stuff like this. And who doesn't love talking about sex?
Me.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode today. We do hope that you enjoyed. We were cut off again. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, go follow us on Instagram at Completely Fucking Clueless.
And on TikTok and YouTube at Completely FCKING Clueless.
Slay. Please don't forget to like rate,
Review,
subscribe,
like,
comment, all the things. It really helps out the podcast. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing Tuesday. Have an amazing week. And do not forget to be motherfucking clueless.
Yes, do not forget.
Do not forget. Love you
Kisses
guys.
from mommy.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have good tits and a big heart.
This has been a 58 Ember production. For more shows, please visit the 58 Ember channel, 58ember.com, or find us at 58 Ember Media on socials.